Well, hello and welcome back to another thrilling episode of the Andrew Eborn Show with me, Andrew Eborn. And we're going to go all the way over to the West Country to join Dawn. How are you doing, Dawn?
Oh, you mean in lockdown or just generally?
Oh, well, lockdown, I'll tell you what, lockdown is locks down, as they say. People can't get to hairdressers and things like that. It's all there, isn't it? How have you been coping?
Well, I'm normally really coiffed and look quite sort of, elegant with kind of chunky, much shorter hair and so. How am I doing? Well, it's all gone crazy, hasn't it? And it feels so strange not to have people turning up or just, being able to pop out with friends, meeting for lunch, things like that. I'm doing okay. Actually, I'll tell you what I'm doing. I have been cooking meals for loads of friends and in great big containers, and I kind of cut them up and then I seal them and vacuum seal them. I bought this little thing, you can buy them on eBay or wherever. I seal them up and then I post them via another product placement opportunity here, Hermes.
Other delivery platforms are available, and we
they are.
Other sponsor the show, so it's got to be
indeed. Other delivery platforms absolutely are available. But anyway, so parcel them up.
What a lovely idea, because you're making that sense of community. Because there are lots of people who are at home at the moment. You and I can cope very well.
Yeah.
We've got the space and we've got all that sort of stuff. But there are people who are stuck at home. And I love the idea that we can reach out into the community and just make that phone call or try and help the neighbour who don't normally see and just contact them in some way or another just to make them feel wanted.
Indeed. Indeed. It's really important, actually. In fact, let me finish the rest of that story, Andrew, because the other bit of it is that, so what I do is I send them out, I do the next day delivery thing, and they're all sealed and packaged. They last for about 5 days anyway. They get out there and we arrange Zoom dinner party evenings so that we can all chat like you and I are now. And then I explain which wine I think would be the best wine to go with them. And then they join me for dinner at about 7 o'clock the following evening. So it's really good. And I only send them to people who don't have partners, don't have anybody else to be with and so on, because it's so important that they get that feeling together.
Oh, no, and I love that. And a lot of people are doing that. They did that over Christmas time as well. A lot of people had their Zoom or other platforms and they all met up and you'd have these computers all around the dining room table.
Yes, indeed.
Which is rather good. And you can pretend to virtually pull a cracker and stuff like that. But it is important, a human interaction. And I think in lockdown, that's what you miss the most, isn't it? It's like the hug or just the ability just to sit down, and things we took for granted beforehand suddenly become really, really important.
Yes, I think they do. But there is also, with every single cloud, there is a silver lining. And for me, the silver lining has been being able to be creative. The first lockdown, I don't know what it was, but I, like many other people, actually felt quite stifled. It was such a sudden shock, and it was so, it was incredulous. Nobody could believe, could this really be happening to us today, in the UK or anywhere in the world? And yes, obviously it was. But so I didn't feel as creative as I have done this time, although obviously I'm always doing things, making things and so on. But in this instance, it's really been a kind of a resurgence of creativity among so many friends of mine. And as you probably know, though we haven't said it on air, but I write songs, I write music, and enjoy singing them as well, but not too publicly. Prefer writing them for other people. Anyway, it's fantastic because so many of us have come together to write songs together. And in fact, we've got artists around the world now who are well-established artists who are getting out there and singing and releasing new songs as well, which is fantastic.
It's been, and as I said, there's nothing that unites people more than a common enemy, and certainly the virus has been a common enemy, you would hope, although we still have people divided about all sorts of issues. And Joe Biden, having just been elected, the great anagram of his name is "Be Joined." So maybe that should be the message for people. But also what I
think it should be. I think it should be a bit like my blood group, Andrew. Be positive.
Absolutely, and we have the mug. It's all there, think like a proton and stay positive. It's all good stuff. But Well, you're right, Dawn, because it is about people learning either a new skill, and we've had all sorts of wonderful chefs on the program. We're going to go over to a celebrity chef later on in the series, but we've had chefs over here. We've had people teaching us how to play chess, how to do backgammon, how to make things with recycling your clothes. We've had Mama Cherry on from Gordon Ramsay's Nightmares, talking to you about don't bin it, spin it. So all these different ways that you can do something creative. And I think if you do it together, that's what keeps your mind active. Because if you're sitting at home just festering and wondering and so on and so forth, it just is that cycle, if you like, isn't it, of depression.
It can be, and I think it's really important as well during this time that people try to eat properly, try to make sure they have enough fluids, definitely try to exercise as much as possible in whatever way, and exercise your brain as well in whatever way possible. Because if you let all of those things slip, it's so easy to feel down, fed up, depressed. It's very easy to blow up the tiniest of things into enormous problems that don't even need to exist.
Yeah, no,
and it's really important. It's important to look after each other as well. And in fact, while talking about looking after each other, there's a great beauty to things like Facebook. I know there have been downsides to all that in the past, and even currently, people still get very angry and abusive. But the most wonderful thing about it is that it's genuinely quite a community. And so many villages, like the village I live in here in Banwell, we have Facebook pages specifically for our village. And it was lovely. The other day I saw one. Anybody seen Neil, the postman? Is he all right? And I just thought, how wonderful. If we're not seen, you know, we all give each other a shout out. Yeah. And that's a very important thing today.
It's absolutely wonderful. I think on that basis is great. And what we've also had, I mean, apart from absolutely build your own online community, we've also had lots of people where you are at home, if you like, bringing the experts to them. So I've had some yoga teachers on the program. I have people teaching you how to breathe and the importance of that sort of side. We've also had, I mean, nutrition is so important, as you say, and different things, not just because Christmas where you might have put on a few extra pounds or whatever, but how you can obtain and maintain a healthy weight. All of that we can learn directly now in this connected way. And even what people are now appreciating is school teachers and things like that, a lot of homeschooling. And the BBC has now given up a platform where you're getting some of the best teachers, some of the most dynamic and enthusiastic teachers are coming directly into the school kids' living rooms and teaching them. And I think that's a really good positive step as well.
Do you know, there is a little bit of a fantasy thing going on here as well, though, about teachers. During the lockdown, teachers are, in fact, I have many teachers in my own family. Teachers are, in fact, working extremely hard. Some have to go into work to look after children because they're the children of key workers, but the majority are having to work online teaching children. That is a very, very difficult thing to do because depending on which sector you're teaching, if you're teaching the private sector, that's a completely different issue because the children's parents will be there and making sure that the kids are there. When it's the state sector, and this is where I feel very strongly that teachers shouldn't be lambasted, when it's the state sector, I think it's really important that people understand that they are trying to teach those children, but not all of those children have access to individual laptops. Not all of those children's parents can afford to pay for heating, to have the children inside the house all the time, but somehow they're having to manage it. So the kids are piled on with clothes and things or blankets or whatever. Not everybody is happy to have their room or their surroundings shown via a screen in order to learn with a teacher online. And I think we're segregating society more and more by trying really hard to educate our children, and we can't force them to be in front of that laptop either. So the staff are there teaching and they're doing their best, and we can't put them at risk either of catching this dreadful virus.
You're absolutely right. The other thing, as what's highlighted, is this digital poverty. People assume that people have the laptops or access to it. They don't. There are lots of families who don't, and that's going to have a big effect for a long time on people missing out on education.
Indeed. And if you've got three children,
yes.
If you've got three children, for example, all of school age, but only one laptop, how do you deal with that? And they're all meant to be in their rooms, you know, at the same time. It's very difficult.
It is very difficult. And the other thing is school meals. I mean, a lot of people are dependent on school meals to get the proper nutrition. We spoke about that earlier. and looking at those. And there was this big outcry about what you can get for 150 a day. And actually, when you look at it and you go to the supermarkets and you see the other bits and pieces, you can feed people quite well for 150 a day if you all get together and so on and so forth. One of the charities I'm involved with is called UK Harvest, which is a food redistribution charity. In the same way, there's a number of people like that. There's the Felix Project in London as well, and various other ones.
I work with Food Cycle. Extraordinarily good.
Yeah, and that's what happens. They say that half the world is starving, and yet there's enough food to feed everybody. And if we re-educate ourselves about food and food waste. So Jamie Oliver was involved with that big campaign as well about, the wonky vegetables. Just because a beetroot is not necessarily beautiful doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't taste exactly the same. So
indeed, and yet more product placement there. Good on Morrison's, who were the first to jump in on that bandwagon and make sure that wonky veg was there, cheaper than their own, but they're aware, as everybody is, that that's what is needed. Economies of scale really is what you're talking about there with the £1.50, because in reality, obviously, if you went with your £1.50 and you were trying to feed a family, it would be very difficult. But when it comes to economies of scale, and your £1.50 joins in with 2 million other people's £1.50, then you can really start to feed properly.
Yeah, and I think, and we had, remember the days I mentioned Jamie Oliver, the days of the turkey Twizzler. Do you remember those? And Jamie used to say, this is what you had for your school dinner, but actually the same amount of money you can get something really nutritious. But the point is, whatever the economics, you can have a look at it, and there are good ways of just revisiting that.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
There certainly are.
Dawn, thank you very much for catching up today. We'll catch up with you next time. Mwah! But for now, bye-bye, Dawn Parry.
Bye-bye, see you soon.
Bye. So if you'd like to talk to me about your experiences in lockdown, if you want to share any tips as to how you yourself are coping, write to me at guests@octopustv.com. That's guests@octopustv.com. Don't forget, you can follow me at Andrew Eborn, @octopustv on Twitter and all the usual platforms. And don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, Dailymotion, and everywhere else. But for me, for now, I've been Andrew Eborn. You've been great. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.